Hello everyone, welcome back to our My 2018 tutorial series with our Pontoon airplane. This is where we left off at. We got the fuselage done, so now we're going to go ahead and jump in. We're going to build the back wings, and then we'll move into doing the propeller as well. So let's just go ahead and jump on in. We're going to start out by creating a cube. We'll just go ahead and drop that into our scene. And it's inside our fuselage, but you can see with the manipulator that we can just go ahead and slide it back, and it'll be right over here. Okay, so we're going to just start out by scaling it to where its thickness is about what we expect from a wing in the back. Okay, so we're going to be building this one right here that goes vertical to begin with. Okay, we're going to just translate it up, move it into the desired location, so kind of right about in here. Okay, R for scale, we'll scale this a little bit more. Okay, that's good. Okay, so now I'm going to go to my 4-panel view and switch into my side view, which is right in here. Okay, and we're going to go to vertex mode, so I'll hold down right mouse button on this guy and go to vertex. I'm going to select this vertex down here. I'm just going to translate it to where it is right about up in this area. And it's okay to grab in this area when it comes to your orthographic views, but now because we're going to need to because we have a lot of diagonals. And since it doesn't move in a third axis, it still stays locked in place. It just does this a lot faster for us. Okay. There we go. That's okay. We're going to move this one, let's say right about in here. And we'll take this one and we'll move it down right, let's say right in here. The reason why I'm not bringing them both up at the top, which is probably your knee-jerk reaction, is because if I do that, then these two are very close up here. And if I add more geometry to it, they're going to converge on this one location between these two edges. So if I space it out a little bit, it'll make it to where I can add a little bit more of a gradual curve. And then I can even it out a little bit more naturally, I guess. Okay, so let's jump into our insert edge loop tool. We'll go ahead and get some more geometry going here so we can start to shape this guy. Let's go ahead and drop 2 going this way. So multiple edge loops is still turned on, which is fine. So I'm just dropping in 2 evenly that way. And I'll go ahead and drop in 2 evenly this way as well. Okay, so 2 going horizontal, 2 going vertical. Okay, so I'm going to hit Q to exit out of my insert edge loop tool. I'm going to go back to vertex mode, right mouse button, get the floating menu, go to vertex. We're going to select this chunk of vertexes at the top, and we'll just go ahead and move them up to the top where the wings tip is. There we go. We can average this out a little bit better. Just move that over here, move this one over there. And we're going to do the same thing with the corner pieces. We're just going to go around the outside of the wing and just keep on moving them until they fit that shape. Okay. I think that I still need just a little bit more geometry in the middle here, so this is a little more rounded on the top. So I'm just going to go ahead and let's go back to our floating menu for our insert edge loop tool. I'll switch it back over to relative so I can just manually drop one edge in right here. I'm going to hit Q. I'll exit out of my insert edge loop tool. I'm going to go to vertex mode, select this vertex at the top, and I'm going to just move it up to where it is now at the top of the wings. There we go. That looks good. Let's go ahead and take a look at what this looks like from our perspective. Okay, that looks about right. Okay, I'm content with that. I'm going to go ahead and name this. We call it mesh underscore rear wing main. There we go. From here, we're going to go ahead and work on our side wings. This is a little bit more tricky, but not a whole bunch. So we're just going to go ahead and drop in another cube. And we're going to use our scale tool. We're just going to scale this down like so. Okay. And since this is at an angle, what we're going to probably do is just go from the top view and we'll shape it. And then we'll have to rotate it back so it matches with the slope of this fuselage here. Okay. So I'm going to jump back into my 4-panel view and go to my top view here, or bottom view, I guess, if you want to be accurate with the picture here. And This is the one that's in the best view, so I'm going to use that one as a guide for the shaping process. So I'm going to go to vertex mode, right mouse button, vertex mode, select these two right here, hit R for scale. I'm just going to scale these two here apart, okay, and these two here, I'll scale where they're right in here, a little bit further back, and about right in there. I'm kind of visualizing, so if you have this arc here, you just kind of follow how the arc would be, it kind of come through, and you kind of visualize how it would kind of connect up in here. So that means that this needs to go back a little bit further to meet up with how this arc might connect with the rear main wing. Okay, so that's good. Might run into that same issue we had before, where the top bit here, where if I want to be more rounded, that these guys might be too far up, and if I drop in geometry, then shaping this rounded piece here will make the geometry converge when I drop in the edge loops and not really give me as much bang for my buck. So I might want to actually push it back over here. Use my scale tool, just kind of shape it out like that. Then I'll use my insert edge loop tool, turn back on multiple edge loops, drop these two in, hit Q to exit, go to vertex mode. Oops. There we go. Now I can bring these two up. There we go. Like that, so I can kind of see how that works better, right? Okay, so I'm going to, again, open up my insert edge loop tool because I want more geometry in here. Actually, let's before I switch this off multiple loops, let's just go ahead and drop some going this way. So that way I can shape this part right here. I do want one here and one here. I don't want two. So I'm going to turn on equal distance. I'll make it to where when I drop an edge in, it goes right between the two edges, equally distant. I can do that on this side as well. That makes it to where now both sides are kind of a mirrored image of each other. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and close this. Go back to vertex mode. I'm just going to grab this vertex and this vertex at the same time. I'll hit W for translate and just kind of move these forward slightly so I get that nice little curve going on right here. Then I'm going to go around the outside here and select these two at the same time. I'm going to hit R for scale. And I'm just going to scale them apart in the x-axis. I'll just push them both apart simultaneously, giving me a mirrored object. Select this one and this one at the same time. Same thing, I'm just going to scale these apart where I have this mirrored object going on. So that looks nice. I'm happy with that. So I'm going to go ahead and jump back out of my perspective, jump out of my orthographic and into my perspective view. Okay, go back to object mode here. Scale this a little bit more flat. That looks good. Okay. I'm going to center the pivot on this. I'm going to hit E for rotate. I'm just going to rotate this guy up now a little bit. And we'll translate it up as well. So make sure that it's sitting right on top of our guy there. Okay. Okay, that's good. All right. Actually, about right there. We want it to where it's inset, and so you can see how like between this and this, that this goes through that geometry. We do want to go through it a little bit. And that looks perfect. Okay. So we're going to prepare the rear and these two wings here for smoothing. What I'm going to do is I'm going to add in some edge loops that will help maintain this shape. So I'm going to go ahead and just drop in one right in here, one right here. We'll do the same thing on here as well. Go ahead and drop one right there, one right there. Exit out. Okay, so now I can go ahead and smooth these two. I'm going to go to Mesh and Smooth. Okay, so that's nice and sharp. It still has a softness to it as well. Do the same thing here. I'll hit G, repeat last command, so it also smoothed it. Okay, that also looks nice. Content with that. Okay, we're moving along nicely. Now, something I want to point out is like this little spot right in here. This also had something going on that I want to look at. So if I turn on X-ray over here, you can see that this reference image, and actually you can see it better inside over here. There's a little teeny inset on the back here, right? Not this little hole, that's just because this is a toy. But there's a little inset here that I want to try to capture. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to extrude the back edge a little bit just to get that inset in there, and that will help hold the back shape as well. So I'm going to go to face mode. I'll select this one face. And if you hold down shift and press the period button or the angled bracket there, it'll grow the selection. So period is grow, comma is shrink. So if I hold down shift and press period, it expands upon from this center face that I had selected. So if I want to shrink, I can hold down shift, press comma, and it shrinks back down. So it's a really good tool to have to grow selections, especially with face components. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and run our extrude tool one time. So actually, let's do it 2 times. We'll hit G, that'll repeat last command. And this time I'm just going to push it in just slightly. And I'll just leave it like that. Okay. So let's take a test and see what this is going to look like. So I'm going to select it, press 3. Just do preview. That gives me a nice little sharp back part here, kind of like that is in that picture, and I like that. So let's take a look at the rest of it, see where it's smooth that I may want to change. So you can see how this is kind of a little bit too soft. I don't really like that, so I'm going to have to add some more geometry to this to really get the shape that I want. And since we're going to try to make this look more like an airplane, less like a toy, I'm going to go ahead and maybe build in a couple windows here. I got 3 faces here that I'm going to select, and these are going to be my windows. So same thing we did in the back. I'm just going to go ahead and run my extrude tool. And I'm going to extrude in. Okay, so just in case you guys missed that, I clicked on the box on the end of my extrude tool that activated the scale functionality of the extrude. I'm just using the scale in the center just to extrude those faces together. But it's doing it along their normal axis, not centering them using the world. So now if I hit G again, I can push it in the window a little bit, have a little bit of an inset. Actually, let's do this twice. We'll do 1, we'll hit G again. And then what that will do is I'll make it to where I'll hold the shape a little bit better. And we will do 1 more extrude, and this is going to be where, again, we'll use the scale functionality of the extrude, and we'll scale it together just a little bit. And I'll make it to where when I smooth it, it won't round out as harshly. So let's go to object mode and test that out, see how that worked out for us. So I'll press 3. All right, so that looks pretty good, right? Go back, press 1. What might help a little bit also is having an extra edge loop around here. Let's go ahead and just drop 1 in. Okay, and we'll do 1 around the top as well. Okay, that's looking better. Okay, so now let's say I also want to have a little bit of like a side window going on. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to face mode again. I'll select this face here, and we'll say this face here as well. And we're going to extrude. Now this is a little bit outside the box, guys. Obviously this is not inside the reference images. This is just because I want it to look a little more visually appealing. So I'm going to do, actually, you know what? We're even going to take it a step further. Let's say this is a passenger plane, and I want to also have these faces right here. So this will be like kind of like a rear face that's going on. Okay, so we're going to do extrude, and this will show you guys a different tool or a different function of the extrude tool that is really awesome if you use it correctly. So if you look down the bottom down here, it says keep faces together, and you'll also see this inside the inputs. Down here it says keep faces together. So if this floating part here doesn't pop up for you guys, you can see over here underneath the inputs that this is where you can also turn it off. So if I turn it to where it's off, what will happen now is instead of it extruding based off of making it basically do to where I do to one face, it'll do to all the faces. I'll make it to where now they all operate independently where this one face is located, but in their individual spots. So that's kind of what I mean. If I scale these together, you can see how they're not extruding together, they're extruding independently. So that gives us these little window looking things, which is awesome. These look great. Maybe get to where they're a little tighter up here, and I'm gonna hit G again. activate the scale tool one more time, giving it 2 edges. Hit G, actually no, yeah, hit G one more time. This time I want to push it in. I want to hit G again, push it in. The reason why I'm doing a couple extrudes here is just because I know I'm going to smooth this thing, and I don't want it to soften these up too much. I mean, I don't want these windows rounded too much when the subdivision happens. Okay, back to object mode. Let's go ahead and test it out and see what this looks like. I'm going to press 3. Okay, so there we go. These nice little rounded windows on the side. Press 1. Now, if I want to retain these a little bit better, I can add in a little bit more geometry. Let's go ahead and experiment and see what that looks like. So I turn on multiple edge loops, drop in 2 more edge loops. I'm going to use R for scale, push these edge loops a little bit more to the sides. Let's go ahead and drop 1 more set of those in. We'll do the same thing over here. Hit R for scale. Again, I'll pull these a little bit more off to the sides. Oh, run into some issues here. You can see how like doing it down here has made it to where I'm now losing the base shape over here. So I'll have to maybe, let's see here. I'll have to be a little more strategic about that. So let's undo that. Control Z a couple times. Instead of doing multiple edge loops, we'll go to relative and I'll put them in manually. So that way it doesn't change the base shape of the fuselage. It worked on the top one here because these are both the high points, so I didn't really change anything. But this way, moving these ones apart did, and I don't want that to happen. Okay, let's see if that handled the change for me. Yeah, I'm a little happier with that. It gives me those square windows. However, it gave me this ribbing where these things are a little bit too close together. So most likely I'll have to go ahead and smooth this bit of the geometry out a little bit. So that'll give me a chance to get into my my sculpting tool and adjust some of this geometry so it still looks good. But let's go ahead and move on to the smoothing process. I'm gonna add 1 more edge loop just along over here so it doesn't shrink back too much. Go to object mode, hit 3. Okay. And let's see here. Maybe I might want to drop in 1 more edge loop this way as well. Sure, let's test that out. This is a little bit of experimenting, guys. I'm doing this a little bit on the fly. So that holds that shape better. Does it mess with the stuff over here? It does add some little bit of ridges that will have to kind of soften up a little bit. But since I'm already going to be softening these ribs up, I may as well go ahead and deal with the rest of them as well. So I'm going to commit to these and just leave those in, and then I'll use the sculpt geometry brush to soften some of this up. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and go to mesh and smooth. Okay, so there's those ribs, and we're not in smooth preview anymore, so I'll have to go and actually adjust these. Okay, so now I'm going to go to where it says surfaces, and here is my sculpt geometry tool. And I like to use this one a lot, so I'm going to add this to my shelf by hitting Control Shift, left mouse button, and there it is. Now it's on my shelf. So I'm going to go ahead and double click on sculpt geometry, and I'm going to go to where it says relax and smooth. Let's start with, let's do smooth actually. Relax would distribute the geometry so that when I came to smoothing, it would distribute these a little bit better. But smooth, I think that will be a better fit right away. Let's go ahead and try this out. So I'll hold down B, that'll adjust the brush size or this big red circle. I'll hold down B and left mouse button drag, it'll adjust the diameter on it. So now it's a little bit smaller, works a little bit better for us. Know that what's inside the circle is what it's averaging between and what it's going to be smoothing. It also has this nice little feathery fall off. I might want to go with this one here. So this is a little bit less dramatic. And then it has smooth strength, maximum displacement. Let's go ahead and experiment to see what this is. Now, keep in mind that this is 1 unit, strength of 1 unit. This square is 1 unit, so it might be a little bit intense. Let's go ahead and see what it does to begin with. Might also want to see if I can turn on symmetry, since what's happening I want to be mirrored on both sides. So let's do stroke, reflection, there we go. So reflection in the x-axis, you might have to decide which axis you're building in, but this will make it to where, as I'm doing it on one side, I'll do it to both. Okay, so I'll go ahead and just tap this. You can see how that's smoothing some of this out. Going along some of these hard edges here. It's better to do long, even strokes than little strokes because little strokes will cause lumps. If you do long, even strokes, it makes it where it smooths it out over a longer distance and it makes it look more organic. There we go, that looks pretty good. Let's keep going down here. And I know it's a little confusing as you can see both of the brushes when they're not active. So when I let go, you can see how like one disappears, one comes back. Let's do the back side here just a little bit. Make sure you don't get down here. You don't want to accidentally stroke that with a smooth brush. That's not going to look good. Okay, that's a high point right there. Okay. If it's too intense, you could always go down to where it says maximum displacement and then bring it down to like 0.4 or something like that, to where it's not as dramatic. I would kind of recommend doing this anyways, as like a final kind of polish up. Kind of run it over really briefly with that. Don't, the longer you wait on it, the more displacement it does, so don't hold on for too long. Okay. Be careful around these windows because if you run your smooth tool over those, it will change the shape of the frame of the windows, which is probably not what you want to have happen. Trying carefully not to do that myself. Okay, I think that that's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and exit out of the tool and just kind of click somewhere else. See how that looks. Okay, yep, that looks pretty good. Got rid of most of the ribs, and I think that will do just fine. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and we're over 20 minutes now, so I'm gonna go ahead and save this. In the next lesson, we'll go ahead and work on the prop and the upper wings. So thanks for watching. See you guys in the next lesson. Also, save your scenes.